shots rang out, the cars stopped. Collins jumped out and returned fire from behind his car. When he saw some rebels running up the hill, he stood out into the open, and standing about here, Michael Collins was killed with a single shot to the head.
Hello, CQ. Hello. Hello, Ash. Hello, Ash. There may be some jamming. There may be some oscillation. Woo! Sorry, CQ. Closing down a moment.
Most of Ireland had left the United Kingdom, but the British were already beginning to identify themselves less by territory than by culture. Regular radio broadcasting began in 1922. Programmes were planned and scripted here at the Cock and Bell in the Essex village of Writtle. And all under the guidance of Captain Peter Eckersley, ex-RAF engineer, born entertainer and all-round show-off.
Hello, CQ. Hello, CQ. This is 2 Emma Talk Writtle testing. This is 2 Emma Talk Writtle testing. Are the signals okay? No, they're not. Wave your hand if it's all okay. No waves. No waves at all.
To start with, Peter Eckersley and his tiny team were only authorised to broadcast for half an hour a week, Tuesday nights. They'd pile down to this old army hut from the pub, and they'd put on records, they'd read out plays, made spoof weather announcements, they even had their own theme tune. The nearness of a microphone can do strange things to people, and as time went on, Eckersley's exhibitionist tendencies became more and more pronounced. On one occasion, he promised a night of grand opera. But there was no Dame Nellie that time. All the arias were sung by Peter Eckersley himself. But Captain Eckersley was about to have his wings clipped. On the 14th of November 1922, the British Broadcasting Company was established. John Reith, a tall, balding Scot with a long scar running down one cheek, was appointed general manager. To call John Reith odd would be a wild understatement. His father was a Scottish Presbyterian minister, and he came from a family who all seemed to dislike each other intensely and were prone to violent rages. Reith himself was almost perpetually furious with somebody. He was one of history's great haters, and also one of its great Puritans. And this was the man who now had his hands on the BBC. Reith appointed Peter Eckersley as his chief engineer and set to work shaping the future of British broadcasting. Everybody was struggling with two big questions. What was broadcasting for, and who should control it? Well, Peter Eckersley was absolutely clear. Every week, he and his team would trundle this piano down from the Cock and Bell pub to his ex-army hut, essentially because they wanted to entertain their listeners. Reith completely disagreed. For him, broadcasting was about information, education, and high culture. So who was going to decide? Well, that at least was becoming clear. John Reith would decide. John Reith was in charge. And in 1929, Captain Eckersley got divorced, and John Reith sacked him. Ah, well, never mind. All across Britain, other young pioneers were on the up. In the summer of 1921, a teenager called Frank Taylor approached a bank manager in Blackpool for a loan of £400. It would help him transform the way this country looked.
Frank needed 400 quid to build 2 houses. 349, number 347, Central Drive, Blackpool. They've since been extended into a terrace. These are very ordinary houses. These are very special houses. Frank wanted them for his parents and his uncle Jack. Now, Frank was only 16 years old, but he got the plans approved himself, and as he said later, he was ready to do anything to get these houses built as quickly and as economically as possible.
Taylor set about learning how to build a house with his own hands. Bricklaying, hod carrying, carpentry, the lot.
Before these houses were finished, before the roofs were even on, passers-by were stopping and asking to buy them. Well, he couldn't resist. He sold each of these houses for £1,000. That was 100% profit. And Frank asked himself, building houses for the British. Perhaps there's money in this.
After the war, Lloyd George had coined the catchphrase, "Homes for Heroes." He had high hopes for a massive state housing boom. But money was short, and in fact, it was Frank's dream, private, not public housing, that led the way, producing 4 million new homes in 20 years.
All exactly the same, and every one of them different. Homes with hedges and rose bushes and sheds round the back for pottering in. Modest homes for peaceful heroes.
Back at the start, Frank Taylor's building business had a problem. Frank's lawyer discovered that he was too young to own or sell land. To make things legal, he'd have to go into a partnership with an adult, and fast. "What about Uncle Jack?" said Frank. Jack Woodrow. And so, Taylor Woodrow was born, one of the property developers who together would build millions of homes and help give Britain her distinctive look for the 20th century. The 20s produced the triumph of modern private housing, but they also gave us a modern political curse: sleaze. One evening in September 1920, a socialist maverick called Victor Grayson walked into a bar in London.
Grayson ordered a round, and then he got a message, and he said, "Don't let anyone drink my whiskey." Picked up his hat and his stick and walked out into the Strand. His friends never saw him again.
Victor Grayson's last political intervention was a speech against Lloyd George and a great cash for honours scandal.
Unlike